Hi, everybody. Welcome to week 6 of 10 in this series on how the narrative for classical music is changing. Everybody, if you know me already, I'm Aubrey Bergauer, and I'm known for talking about changing the narrative. This whole series, if you're new to it, is about how the narrative is changing, is starting to change in the arts, and that is a good thing. I am coming at you today from Corvara, Italy. I'm traveling right now, so it's this evening here, wherever you are in the world. Buongiorno, buonasera, wherever you are. We are so glad to have you. So I know we've had viewers from all over these last several weeks. So today we are talking about the subscription economy. And in the arts, as we know, over the last 8 years or so, maybe 10 years, we've seen a decline in subscriptions, a big decline. And of course, the pandemic has really abruptly changed that for us as we had to completely halt performances. Now we're coming back, trying to sell subscriptions for this season and beyond. So we know the subscription model has been declining in the arts, but we also know as consumers of products and other industries that the subscription model is so prevalent in other sectors. We know this as people who watch Netflix. We know this as people who are Amazon Prime members, right? We know the subscription model is thriving elsewhere. So this whole question has really been plaguing me, to be honest, for the last several years now, as I've been trying to reconcile why is it thriving in other sectors, but really struggling in the arts. So I will say, though, this whole talk is about how, or the whole series is about how the narrative is changing, and it is starting to change in the arts and on this topic of subscription economy. What I mean by that is even just a few years ago, pre-pandemic, arts organizations were incalcitrant, in my opinion, on our view of subscriptions. What could we change? Nothing really was the general answer. But now, the good news is everything's on the table, and organizations that contact me, board members I speak with, senior staff, it's really suddenly, we know we have to do things differently. So that is good news. The narrative is changing. That's why we're talking about it today. And we're seeing more flexible offerings and subscriptions, more offerings that meet what our audiences are telling us they want. Again, good. The narrative is changing. Okay, so why though still are subscriptions struggling in the arts, or at least on the decline in the arts, not thriving like they are in every other sectors? In my mind, there are 4 reasons why this is happening. So that's where we're going to focus time today. And I have an incredible expert we are so lucky to have with us. Her name is Robbie Baxter. She is going to help us dive into this. So I'm going to turn her video on in just a second and introduce her. But I want to pause and say, if you think that this conversation is helpful to other people in the field, please share this live stream in your feeds right now. Please give it a like. That really helps get the word out for people, whether they watch it live now or they see it in their feeds later. So if you think others can benefit from this topic as well, please do that. So let me bring on Robbie here, and let me just say a word about Robbie and just her amazing background and expertise as we get going here. Robbie Baxter is the person who coined the term membership economy. So I feel like we've got like a legend with us right now. Her clients, just to name a few, have included Netflix, yes, the National Restaurant Association, the Mail newspapers in the UK, dozens of Silicon Valley software and consumer subscription companies, like probably half the services when I use on a regular basis. Robbie's been a part of those membership models, subscription models for those companies. No joke. Okay, she's the author of 2 books. One is The Membership Economy, and she has a newer book out called The Forever Transaction. So again, if this topic is of interest to you, please go run, don't walk, go pick up one of these books. And just a few more bio points here. Robbie has worked in over 20 different industries with her different consulting clients. So I don't want anybody listening to this thinking, well, maybe she doesn't know the arts. That's not true. 20 different industries, even as she and I were chatting in preparation for this stream today, like she gets it, y'all. So I just want to say again, we're so lucky because she knows the trends. She knows what works across all kinds of sectors. And we get to learn from her today. So please use the comments, ask any questions you have, cheer her on, whatever you want to do, that's great. We love seeing the interaction, and I'll get to questions at the end if we have time. I know I have a lot of questions for her myself, so I'll try to come back to the questions in a moment. So with that said, let's dive in. I mentioned I have 4 different reasons in my mind, Robbie, why the membership economy is struggling in the arts compared to elsewhere. So let's have your take on all of this. You can tell me I'm wrong. You can tell me there's a different way to look at it. Whatever you want to say truly is helpful to all of us. So reason number 1 in my mind is what I call the first year cliff. So we know in the performing arts, only half of first year subscribers, season ticket holders, only half renew their season ticket package. That data comes from the League of American Orchestras. So that's definitely true for symphony orchestras. It's about that for other disciplines, opera companies, theaters, you name it. So about half drop off. That's alarming. I think arts organizations don't focus enough on the new subscriber in order to keep them happy enough to renew. We tend to sort of over-index on our loyal, longtime subscribers, in my mind. What do you think about this? How does this compare to other industries? Are other brands focusing on the new subscriber? Sort of all of that. Go.
Yeah. So first of all, so great to be here, and thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you specifically about the arts. Lots of interesting things going on in that space. Some things are, as you said, unique, but the vast majority of what happens in subscriptions, in general, I think applies in the world of the arts. So with regard to that 1-year cliff, in every subscription, the greatest attrition, the greatest churn happens at the end of the first period. Every single industry. That's streaming content, that's meal kits, that's software as a service, that's enterprise, B2B, consumer, everything. Biggest drop off is in the first period, because the great advantage of a subscription is you can cancel at any time. So people often join thinking, if I don't like it, I can cancel. And I'm going to make a note, especially in the first period, if I don't like this, if I don't use it, I'll cancel. So you have to go into your subscription business knowing that that's the case and saying, okay, what do I do about that? So the first thing that you really want to do, and I think most organizations under invest in this, is onboarding. This is the least expensive, most powerful lever that you have. And what that means is, in those first seconds, minutes, days, weeks, months after somebody joins you, how do you make them feel welcome, reinforce the wisdom of their decision, and ensure that they get as much of the value that they're entitled to as possible? So what that means is you're really choreographing that experience, and you want to look at your customers that have stayed for a while. So your second, third, fourth year subscribers, look at them and compare them to the people that are leaving and say, what are the differences? And a lot of times it's a difference in experience. Like, the ones that stay for a long time might have been brought in by somebody who's already a fan. Mm-hmm. That's very common. And so you say, well, how do I replicate that with my other new members? Well, maybe I give them I don't want to say a mentor, but a buddy, somebody to welcome them, somebody that has tickets for the same night, who says hello. That kind of thing makes a huge difference. And figuring out what are those little elements in the world of streaming content. We know that in most cases, if I pay for a streaming subscription, let's say on my phone, right? Let's say like the NBA has League Pass. If I get League Pass on my phone, it's okay to watch a basketball game like this, but if I can connect it to my smart TV and watch it on a big screen, I'm way more likely to get value, and I'm way more likely to stay. If I sign up for Netflix because I want to watch a rom-com, I might stay for a while. I might find other rom-coms that I like, but if they can get me to enjoy a documentary, a drama, a crime series, I'm much more likely to stay. So those are the two things that they're very focused on when you join: is get them to a smart TV and get them to a second type of content. So in the world of the arts, what are the elements that increase the likelihood that someone's going to stay for the second period?
Yeah, I love that. That's great. There's a real quick question. Mike, you're asking, is the 50% drop off pre-COVID or now? That was pre-COVID. That statistic has been true for several years. Just so everybody knows that. So I love this. The next step. Okay, everybody watching, put a pin in that next step, because we're going to come back to that in one of these additional sort of theories I have here. So, okay, super helpful. Reason number 2, I think we are seeing the subscription model and the art struggle compared to other industries is what I call behavioral repetition. Actually, here we are already talking about next behavior steps. So I always, when I think about describing this, we don't talk a lot in the arts about behavioral segmentation. We do a lot of demographic segmentation. We do some psychographic segmentation. If you liked Beethoven, maybe you'll also like Brahms, or if you like Harry Potter, maybe you'll also like the whatever next movie and concert, So we don't often think of behavioral segmentation and behavioral proclivity. So just to lay that out there for all of us. So what I try to think about as an analogy is, I don't know if everybody remembers this, but back in the day, Starbucks used to give you a discount. If you'd come in the morning, they'd give you a discount to come back that same day. They're trying to elicit the same kind of behavior soon. And I always think that's interesting, because in the arts, we don't do it that way. So many arts organizations, as we know, as soon as somebody comes once, often, what's the next step? Solicitation, telefunding, calling them. Or the next step is, will you subscribe? You've come once. Don't you want an 18-week package now? So anyways, what I'm trying to get at is, we are asking our patrons, our customers, to make pretty big leaps in engagement. And in my mind, what are the most successful subscription companies doing in terms of that next behavioral step? Just like sort of picking up right where you left off.
Yeah, so it's a journey, as you've said, and I know this is a big point that you like to make, and I think it's really important. And I just want to point out that it is relevant in every subscription. And an analogy is, it's like asking someone out on a date, maybe even a blind date, and for coffee, and then saying, "Wow, this coffee, it's really nice." And they say, "Yeah, I'm enjoying it too." And you say, "Great, do you want to get married?"
Mm-hmm. I've totally heard this parallel.
Yes.
We do. So please keep going. Yes.
And so there's a couple of things here. So the main point is, there's a lot that happens between that first coffee date and the marriage proposal. And what a lot of companies have heard, this is like a common analogy, but what a lot of organizations do then is they say, "Okay, well, I'll wait till the second, so then they're like, "Okay, do you want to, so now we're going out to dinner. Do you want to marry me now?" And then on the third date, they say, "Do you want to marry me now? Now we're going for a walk. Do you want to marry me now? Now you're visiting my parents. Do you want to marry me now?" And it's the same question. So you want to ask different questions along the way. So it might be, "Tell me about your family. Tell me about your hobbies. Tell me what kind of life you want to have." And so in this world, what you're saying is, "Okay, so you came to one event. Did you enjoy it? How could we have made it better for you? Would you enjoy going to something else? What brought you here?" So there's a couple things here. One of them is, you want to get really curious on where this symphony event fits in their life. So it may be that it fits in their life because they love Brahms, but it may be that it fits in their life because they're saying, "I need to be more cultured," or "I need to try more new things," or "I need to get out in my new city," or, "I need to have an opportunity to wear this awesome dress I bought."
Yes.
And so the better you can understand where it fits in their life and what brought them, you have a better sense of what to do for them. So that's a product thing. I think a lot of companies over-index on product. So in the world of symphonies, it's, "Oh, nobody's coming to Brahms, let's do Beethoven," right? And it may be any number of other things. It may be the time of day that you're offering the event. It may be the price point. It may be how welcome you make them feel. It may have nothing to do with the musical choice. Just to point out that this is the same in other places, I think, a lot of engineers say, "But our product is better than the product that our competitor makes." But the competitor has better customer service. The competitor has a cleaner message. The competitor has a better return policy. Has nothing to do with the quality of engineering. But a lot of times the company is driven by the engineers.
Mhm.
In the world of news, same thing. Most news organizations are driven by the editorial team. And it's not that editorial isn't important, but there are other reasons that people read one paper or another besides the quality of the editorial.
Mhm.
So I think that's really important. And then your point about segmentation. So I'm going to just go on one more minute.
Oh, please.
The point about segmentation. You want to segment by quality of customer. And you want to get really clear on who's your best customer. Usually your best customer is the one with the greatest lifetime value. Sometimes lifetime value, meaning how much do they spend over their lifetime with you. So you acquire me, I come to one event. If two people come to the same event and one of them comes to 4 more events and the other one doesn't, that first one is more valuable. In your world, that might also include their philanthropic activity. It might include their volunteer activity. It might be the word of mouth that they have about, who else they bring in. But you want to say, what does a best customer look like? Who are they? Right? What are the criteria? At the simplest level, it's the ones that spend the most money, but there's other ways of doing it. And how can we spend more money, more time, more focus on acquiring, engaging, and optimizing the experience for that group versus the other 3 quadrants? And so step 1, divide by quadrants, even if it's just by lifetime customer value. That's a great place to start. And then how can I spend a little bit more of my time and money understanding and supporting people that look like group 1 rather than treating all 4 segments as equal?
Oh, so much. Oh my gosh, so many gems in there. Thank you. I want to underscore what you were saying about over focusing on the product. I say all the time, everybody listening, what we do at arts organizations, our product is so good. The quality is so good. So continuing to tinker with the product, especially at something like a professional symphony orchestra or opera company, it's just tweaking at that point. But so I love what you said, and the UX research I've done with several clients now, we've learned that same thing. It's all these other facets of the experience. I always say everything tangential to the product, like you were saying, is really often what is keeping them away or keeping them from coming back. So just so appreciate everything you were saying there. And the quadrants, I love that too. Okay, switching gears a little bit here. Reason number 3 of 4, I think the arts are struggling with the subscription model, is how we handle renewals. So, and this is true for donations too, subscriptions as well as memberships in the form of donations. I'll say what other industries do. We all know this. It's a month to month usually for so many other subscriptions we're a part of. And Robbie, you were talking about this earlier. So many times we cancel after the first month or whatever that first period is, as you said. In the arts, we don't make the customer opt out. We opt out everybody for them.
Right. It's opt in, not opt out.
Exactly. We wipe the slate clean and say, would you like to renew your subscription? Would you like to, you donated last year. Would you please renew that donation again this year? Is there any other way we can do this? I keep trying to think, is there a way that we should go to month? There's pros and cons of that in fundraising for sure. I mean, I would just love to hear you speak on this question for a while.
Yeah. So I think opt out is the industry standard across industries. I'm seeing it increasingly in nonprofits. I haven't seen it as much in the arts, but I am seeing it in other kinds of, philanthropic organizations where they ask you, like I'm trying to think now. I think I'm in 3 different nonprofits where I just pay them at whatever it is, $20 a month or whatever they asked for. So I do think that opting, think about is it possible legally to have opt out instead of opt in? What I've heard from many arts organizations is that people prefer it. It's easier, right? And the important thing that you want to remember is, the reason that people hate opt out, if they hate it, is they feel like they're spending money when they didn't intend to. So if you're nervous about hurting the relationship or denigrating the trust that you've established, what you want to do is say, we have an opt-out program. You let them know up front, you explain why you're doing it. And if somebody says, and you can decide how long you want to wait, in month 2, 3, 4, whatever month they say, oh, I had no idea. I forgot. I didn't realize I was giving money. I want my money back. For the first year, let's say, you just give them their money back. You just say, yes, this is a new system. We understand that you may not have been aware of it. We hope you still love us and we hope you stay. But if you want your money back, here's your money back. And that brings me to a really important point about subscription is when people want to leave, let them leave. But invest your retention dollars in that onboarding experience. Like by the time somebody's telling you they want to leave, they've decided.
It's too
And
late.
you can sometimes, it's not 100% too late. You can sometimes keep them, often by solving the problem that they have, right? I came to your event and I couldn't find parking and it was terrible. And you say, oh, did you know that we have free parking behind the building? No, nobody told me. Great. You know what? I'm going to credit you $50 for the parking from last time. And why don't you come back next time and use our free parking that you didn't see? So there are ways sometimes to retain, but it's hard. It's much easier upfront to notice if they're doing the things that your best customers do, if they look like them upfront, and then if they're doing the behaviors. So for example, if somebody pays for an event and they don't show up, if they're a subscriber, you want to know why they didn't come and why they didn't give their tickets to somebody else, right? And you might even want to say, I noticed you didn't use your tickets. You didn't come. Can we, you have the privilege of exchanging them. You should have exchanged them. Can we exchange? Let's just exchange them now, even though the event already happened, because we want you to get the value you're entitled to. That kind of thing in the first month or two can really deepen the relationship because you're noticing that they're not getting value and you're intervening. You're intervening before they get to that time. Most people don't start working on retention until like 30, 60 days before renewal. And by then it's usually too late. They've already stopped using the product or decided they don't want it anymore. And so you want to do that much earlier on.
Yeah. Love that. Okay. That makes so much sense. Speaking of value, you just mentioned value. Okay, here we go. Reason number 4 of 4 in my mind, why the arts are struggling with subscriptions compared to other industries is what I call, we now have same value for twice the price. So what do I mean by that? At orchestras, again, this is very similar for other disciplines, but at orchestras, the national data shows that over the last 10 years, this is actually, well, definitely predates COVID. If we're going back 10 years, it might even be 10 years pre-COVID, but regardless, take about the last decade, subscription prices have risen. Everybody listening, hear this. Subscription prices have risen at nearly double the rate of the consumer price index. So what that means, and we know this, we've raised prices because as attendance has declined, we've been dialing up the price in order to balance our budgets. I've been there trying to balance the budget. I understand, but by doing this, our subscription prices have risen at double the rate of the consumer price index over the last 10 years. So that means the same product people are experiencing now has less value, or because the price they've paid is twice as much. The value has declined. So compare that to, like Netflix last price increase, I think was $1, right? Something like that. So I don't know where the question is in that, but does that resonate? Is this a pricing question? I'm not sure. I'm just what's your response to me saying this? Maybe is the right way.
Yeah. So let's talk about pricing for a minute. So the first thing is, in a subscription, one of the reasons that subscriptions work so well is that people make it a habit and they know what to expect, so they don't have to pay attention, right? They just say, I'm relaxing into this subscription. I'm paying whatever. At some point when I was paying attention, I decided that was a reasonable cost for what I'm getting, and I'm not going to think about it anymore. When you raise the price, they stop what they're doing. They're like, I need to think about this again. Do I still want to be a customer? Do I still want to subscribe? Netflix dealt with that. Every time they raise prices, a whole bunch of people leave. They know that. So that's the first thing to know, is that you want to be really thoughtful when you raise prices, because people are going to leave. And a lot of people are leaving because they're kind of deadwood anyway. They're not loving it. And they're like, oh, I forgot I was subscribed. You know what? Now they're raising the price. I'm leaving. Okay. So that's something to keep in mind. Second thing is elasticity of demand. So there are some products where there is great elasticity of demand, which means for each $1 of price that it goes up, you lose a certain percentage of your customers, right? salty snacks are like that. When potato chips go on sale in the supermarket, people buy more of them. And guess what? They eat them right away. Right? So if chips are cheaper, people consume more chips. If tuna fish is cheaper, you may buy more, but you pantry load. And then you don't buy any the following weeks. So the number of cans of tuna fish sold over the year stays constant, regardless of the price within a range, because people either eat the tuna fish for lunch or they don't. And they're not going to eat it more because it's cheaper. It's just, different than chips. We eat more chips. So you want to know is how elastic are theater tickets? My guess is they're not very elastic, that it's more of a binary decision. Either I like going to the symphony or I don't. Either I believe in supporting the arts or I don't. And within some range, like, of course, if the tickets became, $3,000 a seat or they went down to free, that would obviously change things. But in the range of whatever it is, $25 to $200, in that range, a lot of people are going to be like, well, this is just something I do. So you don't want to over worry about your pricing, but at the same time, if you want to explain why you have to raise the price. Netflix was really good at that. They said, I did some, actually they did a bad job and then they did a good job. I don't know if you remember when Netflix, the first time they raised their prices, when they came out with, and I'm not going to get it right, they split the business in half. What happened was when Netflix started, they were so small that the movie studios weren't worried about them. And so Netflix went to them and said, hey, can we use your DVDs, buy DVDs from you and, have this subscription? They were like, sure, we'll give you a really good deal because it's irrelevant to our big business. 10 years later, Netflix is actually keeping people from going into the theaters. So it's affecting those movie studios. So they said, you know what, if you want to have access to our movies, we're going to increase the prices in our new contract dramatically. So suddenly Netflix's costs went way up. They had no choice but to raise their prices. But what they did is instead of saying, hey, customers, bad news, our prices have gone up. We have to pass some of that on to you. We hope you think that there's still enough value to stay with us, but we can't be in business if we don't raise our prices. What they said instead was, great news. You were paying $13.99 for streaming and 3 DVDs out at a time. But now you can pay $9.99 for 3 DVDs out at a time, or $7.99 for streaming, or you can get both if you want both. And so like every person in the world that was subscribing to Netflix was like, well, I can do the math. $7.99 plus $9.99 is a whole lot more than $13.99. And that is not good news for me. That is bad news for me. And Netflix is trying to pull the wool over my eyes. I don't trust them anymore, which is really important in a subscription, that they trust you. They trust that the reason you're charging what you charge is because you need to charge it. So, to summarize, in the area of pricing, if you have to raise prices, make sure that your subscribers understand that and try to not do it a lot. And the other thing that I would say about it is raising your prices because you don't have enough customers is a doom loop. You have to be in the world of subscriptions for the long term. You have to feel like your customers are getting great value for the amount they're paying. Your subscribers are getting great value. If you get to a point where you say, wow, you have to be kind of crazy to spend this much. This is kind of a crazy deal. That it's only a matter of time before your subscribers catch up with your logic and they leave.
Yeah. Oh, so much. Oh God, so much wisdom in all of that. I will say though, this answer gives me hope, everybody watching, because what I'm hearing you say is it's not price alone. Of course not. So,
No.
And I think as long as we have a range, which almost every arts organization does, we do have very high prices depending on who you ask. But more and more arts organizations are doing a better job of having a lower entry point. So to me, that says, oh my gosh, it's not that, our prices have risen so much over the last 10 years. It's by and large, we need to be better at how we message that. And when do we increase prices and not so often? So this is actually a very hopeful response. I love this. So great.
Yeah. Also, it's for whom? So there's some people I would imagine who would say, I understand where you're, because you have a philanthropic component to this, which I think is always really tricky if you're a nonprofit or you have a philanthropic component. Like some people are, so some people are coming and they're like, no, I'm paying $50 for my ticket because this is a fun night out for me. And I really don't want to donate any money to this. And other people say, I believe in the arts. I want to support this. I'm happy to buy my ticket. I'm happy to buy my ticket and not go. I'm happy to give them a check. And it's really important to know who's who, which ones are likely to convert over time on their journey with you, and which ones have a totally different use case and are never going to become philanthropic participants, and to communicate differently with them because they're coming for different reasons and they expect different things back. So a value for a donor, and I know you know this, is different than like the value somebody pays for a ticket because they like the music and they like the fancy theater and they like that experience. There's different reasons, right? I feel good knowing that my donation is contributing to school children being able to go and hear the symphony, or that it's allowing people, music students or people who can't afford it, or to keep the building open, or to endow, a chair for the director, whatever. It's different. And you just have to know who's who, because when you're telling them what they're going to get for their money, they're getting different things.
Yeah, you have to know who's who. You have to differentiate in your communication. It goes back to segmentation. This is a total soapbox issue for me. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, Robbie, I could talk to you all day long. I am not going to do that. So we're coming to the end of our time, but there is one question that is in the comments here that I want to ask, and then I'll wrap us up. Hi, Catherine. Catherine says, in implementing an opt-out model, is there any data or anecdotal information on behavioral trends of implementing that in year one? Okay, so if you're switching to an opt-out model, I suppose, what does that look like in year one? She goes on to say, so much of the financial model in the arts is based on projecting subscription dollars. Yes, knowing a trend of how much one might lose in implementation could be a huge factor, I think she's trying to say, in program planning, or could be huge in program planning and board support. Got it. Okay, what happens? Is there a big drop off if you switch to opt-out, basically, I think is the question.
So it depends. A lot of it depends on how you communicate it. If people know that it's happening and they know why it's happening, they're more likely not to cancel, but to say, I don't like this. Right. So there's a few options. One is that you can give people a choice. I've seen a lot of organizations say, we have you on an opt out, and you can use nicer language, but if you'd like to be asked every month, we can do that too. So that's a kind of, we're very tentative, and it's a way to go through. You could send out a note that says, we're moving to opt-in. We'd love for you to join us. Let us know if you're open to this. If you're a loyal subscriber, this is why it's valuable to us. This is why we think it's valuable to you. You can offer a lower price. I think that's legal. I check with your lawyers, but there's a lot of ways of doing it. And I would actually say, Catherine, that your revenue is not going to go down. It's going to go up because people are less likely to cancel. People are going to, engage. It's harder for people to remember to renew. And I've seen this with other industries. People just forget. They love the product and they just forget, or they subscribe for a season and they say, I'll just subscribe again next season. And then the month comes when the season starts and they are busy and they forget. And then it's month 2 and they've already missed one thing and they're like, oh, screw it. I just won't sign up this year. And then you've lost them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay. Raise your hand if you want your revenue to go up, not down. We're going to end on that note. Robbie, I can just thank you a million times. Your wisdom, your expertise is just I could just eat this all day long. I just so appreciate it. Everybody, please give this a like, give this a share, follow Robbie if you're not already, here on LinkedIn, on any other channel. Listen to her podcast, Subscription Stories. I've been obsessing over this podcast, totally binging it over the last few weeks. It's awesome. And then lastly, her new book, please pick that up, The Forever Transaction. Grab a copy if you were liking this conversation. Grab one, please. And like I said, leave a comment, leave a like, share this conversation with others. It really helps our field move this dialogue forward. So if you would share it, I would really appreciate that. And lastly, follow me if you're not already. We have 4 more weeks of this 10-week series on how the narrative is changing in the arts, changing for the better. And this is all part of the LinkedIn Creator Accelerator program. So I want to make sure I thank LinkedIn for supporting this work, making this available to all of us. And a preview of next week, really quickly, we will be covering fundraising. So we touched on fundraising a little bit. I see another question from Lydia about subscription models and corporate giving. We're going to talk about fundraising next week, so we're going to get to that. So I've got another great guest who has worked inside and outside the arts, fundraising. Whether you work in development or not, it's part of all of our jobs in some ways, because we want to raise more money, not less money, right? So, okay, we're going to hit that topic next week. Until then, thank you all for watching, whether you're live now or watching the recording later. I'm just really grateful you're here. One more time, thank you, Robbie. And I'll see everybody next week. Bye.
Great fun.